The Lost Tasting.
So 2 years ago in June, we made a wild ferment of a rosemary hydromel. And somewhere along the way, it never got a tasting video. I don't know why. And now here we are 2 years later, because this is from, this has 9/4. So September 4th of 2020. So we're coming up on almost 2 years for this. The video, the making of it came out in June. Okay. That's what was June, yeah. Okay, now this is a wild ferment, which means we literally took 1.5 pounds of honey and some rosemary from our backyard. It was just like 0.4 ounces of rosemary. See, I actually watched the video this time because I wanted to see, like, did we end up fermenting this with yeast or did we just use the wild ferment? And we used the wild ferment.
It was a wild ferment, and from my recollection, which I did not watch the old footage.
Smelled like farts.
It was a really unusual process because the way rosemary is structured, it has all these places for the yeasts to connect to. And so it created this weird, funky structure of the yeast particles connecting to the rosemary branches. And we had concerns, but it turned out fine.
There's some stuff in the bottom.
It's normal.
There's always stuff in the bottom.
Now, this has been kept...
6.5%.
This has been kept in one of our mini fridges.
Oh, so this has been cold the whole time?
I think most...
I was concerned about that because...
Most of the time.
A lot of the time, if you leave something that's low ABV, like this is 6.5% out, it can spoil. You know, it can go bad.
Yeah.
By leaving it in the fridge most or all of that time, it probably didn't age as much. They aged slower.
It probably,
we did that in a
we
video.
kind of put it in stasis.
Yeah. So... Anyway, this is the tasting of somewhere between a month and 2-year-old hydromel. How's that sound?
So first off, it is crystal clear.
It's an interesting color too. It's like very golden-y, very yellowy golden.
With like a slight hint of green. So
ooh, on the smell.
Like chartreuse.
Rosemary and ginger.
Oh, see, that just smells good.
Mm-hmm. It smells really good. There's no weirdness on the smell.
No. The rosemary ginger
It does
combo,
smell medicinal though.
Yeah, but I like
that
I mean,
it's a
thing.
It's a methylene hydromel. So, you know.
I think one of our reasons why we made this was to help me for when I had a headache.
Yep, probably.
So it is medicinal.
It is totally medicinal. Give it a taste. Oh, that's not bad. I was not expecting to love this.
It's weird because normally my wheelhouse is the fruity sweet stuff and Brian's wheelhouse is the spicy methylene stuff. This, however, because there's ginger in it.
There is no ginger in it. It tastes like there's ginger in it.
There's no ginger in this?
There's no ginger in that. Yeah. You would swear there is. It tastes and smells like ginger, but there's no ginger. All it was rosemary and yeast. Or rosemary and honey, I'm sorry. That's it. Rosemary and honey. That's it.
Anyway, I like it.
Yeah. Okay, let me take you on a trip. Let me take another sip first. Okay, first, when it enters, it's not rich, thick, and viscous. This is a hydromel. They never are. I do immediately get a little bit of a honey character, though, which is kind of nice to have in a hydromel. This is dry, although it doesn't taste like that weird dry. I think it ended at 1.010 actually. So there's a little bit of residual sweetness in that, just wouldn't ferment out. I do get rosemary almost immediately. I would like it to be a little bit sweeter. I would like it better if it was sweeter.
Fair enough.
Because it does give a little bit of almost that medicinal quality to me. The mid-range on it, you know what, I need another sip to remind myself. I keep talking, I forgot. Right, on entry, a little bit of honey, a little bit of rosemary. Then through the middle is when you notice that it's not thick and rich. That's when I really notice the body that's not there. It's a hydromel. That's the way they are. That's when I'm also getting a little bit of a bitterish note that's why I think I want a little bit of sweetness. There's some odd medicinal note, and I think it's fermented rosemary.
There's something about this combination, though, that my brain doesn't immediately go to, oh, this is kind of watery.
Oh, I see. I'm getting the watery.
I'm not...
Very upfront. To me, this tastes like if I had this much of a regular mead and watered it down by half. That's what this tastes like to me. Yeah, it tastes that kind of watery. It lost all of its viscosity, which that's not unusual for a hydromel. It's just the way they are because that's the nature of the beast. The finish on it does have that slight fermented honey back note, and a little bit of a honey character comes through again. So it's got a little bit of complexity to it. That ginger flavor is really unique, and that follows through the whole thing. I can't figure out how it has.
There was ginger.
No I watched the videos just a little bit ago. There's no ginger. But tasting it, you would swear there was ginger in there. But this is one of those, like, I don't know that I'd like it warm. I think it needs to be cold.
Yeah.
And this is cold. Nice, refreshing kind of thing.
Yep.
You know,
Hot summer day.
Make a great mixer with like other stuff, something else in it.
You could pump up the ginger notes by putting a splash of ginger ale in there.
Ginger ale in this would be wonderful.
That'd be lovely.
I don't know what else you'd mix this with, but it could mix with other things. On its own, it's not my thing. Yeah, Derica likes it.
I think this might be the last bottle that we have.
Probably.
And over a time frame of 2 years, that's not surprising. But I believe I consumed most of them myself.
Yeah.
I think Dad, on one of his visits, may have got one.
I know I tried it once and went, yeah, no. There's an odd bitter flavor that the more I drink of this, the more it's coming through. So it's watery and I get an odd bitter flavor. The ginger note's cool. It's really interesting, but it's not like a redeeming thing to me. I don't know. I expected better. Let's put it that way. It's funny because on the first instant, it's crisp and refreshing, but after a while, it starts to be a little, I can't even describe
I think the
it.
fermented honey bitterness kind of stays.
It's coming forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that
creeping
finish
on you.
is creeping forward in my mouth. It's not just on the finish anymore. Now it's like halfway through. And if we wait any longer to do numbers, they're just going to keep getting lower and lower. Because if this gets to the front, then I'm not going to like it much at all.
Okay. Let's do numbers now.
Are you ready? 1, 2, 3,
7.
3.5.
I guess it's really good I have been drinking these.
Yeah, our scoring system generally runs 1 being probably would just dump it. It's just total crap. 10 is totally awesome, only to be bettered by the few that we've given an 11. And then for me personally, if it's got at least a 5, it's probably something, yeah, I'd reach for that and drink it. This one, for the reasons given, it's watery, it's got that weird bitter thing. Yeah, I don't really like it.
Kind of reminds me of a beer, to be honest.
Reminds me of a crappy beer, yeah.
It's not a dark beer, a light beer, so that would fall into Brian's category of a crappy beer. But I like it. I like the crispness of it. I really like it chilled. It just reminds me of something that's not overly complicated, but still has a little bit going for it, so that you're like, oh yeah, that's different. That's new. Texturally, for me, it actually reminds me of a soda, where Bry is getting just watery. I'm getting almost that syrupy sensation in a that you get in a soda.
Okay.
Not very strongly, but it's definitely more than water.
To me, it tasted a little bit like a rosemary and ginger water. It really just didn't do it for me.
And I guess this is just one of those instances where our experiences, our palates, our preferences are diverging and showing their differences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is definitely the kind of thing, like you also enjoyed tea with no sugar, no sweetener, long before I ever even would consider doing it. So there's that too. And I think this falls into that. It's more like a rosemary ginger tea that's cold. Yeah. With no sweetness to it.
It also kind of reminds me of the old school sodas, like the old-fashioned root beers and stuff like that.
That weren't sickly sweet.
Right, and this is less sweet than those even. Sure. But it's got that kind of funky, earthy...
So if we were to do this again, what would we do? I think I'd actually add ginger to it.
I think I would want to add ginger.
Rosemary and ginger together would be really, really nice.
I think I would want it to have some more sweetness, so I'd back sweeten it.
I think it needs tannins too.
And
a little backbone.
I think I'd like it carbonated.
Yeah, some tannins, some carbonation, and a little bit of sweetness, and I think this would be totally revamped and made into something different. How much of those things? I don't know. I'd have to think about that before we did the recipe again. But we do have a wild ferment that we're starting up, and giving it some time. It's a slow goer, you might say, but they usually are. It takes sometimes up to a week or so to get them going.
They're wild. You don't know what they're going to do.
Exactly. But in the meantime, as always, guys, thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.